Francis praises the work being done by one group on behalf of migrants and refugees. In a meeting over the weekend at the Vatican, the Holy Father said a lot of good work is being done by the Humanitarian Corridors project. He says it is protecting the vulnerable and breaking down the walls of indifference. The initiative is organized by Catholic and Evangelical groups, the Church in Italy, and various governments in Europe. Joining us now from Rome is Andreas Thonhauser, EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief. Andreas, great to see you. Can you tell us more about this audience?
The stranger who resides with you shall be to you as the native among you. With these words of Leviticus, Tracy, Pope Francis addressed hundreds of refugee families who visited him in the Vatican last Saturday. The encounter was part of a larger ecumenical initiative carried out by the Italian community of Sant'Egidio, of Caritas, the Waldensian Table, and the Evangelical churches. In 2016, these organizations decided to collaborate on a so-called Humanitarian Corridors. Now, these corridors, Tracy, were a response to the dramatic refugee situation which we experienced here in 2015, especially in the Mediterranean. Many lost their lives while trying to cross the sea in order to reach countries of the European Union. Leaving behind their own homeland, seeking security and economic stability, they made out for very dangerous passages here into Europe. Now, the human corridors are supposed to guarantee a safe passage to those who need it the most: children, women, and elderly.
And Andreas, talk to us more about why this situation is so problematic and a little bit more about illegal migration into the European Union.
Sure. Now, in his address, Pope Francis mentioned the shipwreck tragedy of Cutro just 3 weeks ago here at the Italian coast. More than 80 people died, including children. Human traffickers tried to smuggle them into Italy. Pope Francis warned that such a catastrophe must never be allowed to happen again. But Tracy, his meeting with the refugees and the promotion of human corridors was also timely in a very different sense, because over the last weeks, several European countries, including Italy, have started to advocate for stricter border policies, allowing less migrants and refugees into the territory of the European Union. Migration into Europe has drastically increased, especially since 2015, which was then the height of the Syria conflict and the ISIS terror. And since this migration has not been managed well, integration has become a huge political issue. And many here in Europe favor basically the US model of building border walls. And also Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni advocated for stricter policies regarding migration. And therefore, the Human Corridor project also promotes the much-needed integration of refugees here in Europe. And Pope Francis praised this project especially for this. A lot of attention there is being paid to the hard process of integration. He said that this would represent a beautiful face of Europe, which is open to the future, and he thanked the organizers especially for that.
And Andreas, quickly before I let you go, yesterday was another important anniversary in Pope Francis's 10-year pontificate. Talk to us more about that.
Sure, Tracy. So Pope Francis celebrated Mass as a Pope for the first time exactly 10 years ago. More than 200,000 faithful had gathered on St. Peter's Square to witness the first Mass of the newly elected pontiff. And Tracy, you know how he finished his first homily? Well, exactly as he's usually finishing all his encounters, also those with the refugees, he said, "Pregate per me," which is Italian for "pray for me." Tracy?
Andreas, thank you so much for that report. We appreciate it. Andreas Thonhauser, EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief. Thank you again.